Lesson 10. Hello everyone, John here. Thanks for tuning in to Lesson 10 in the Step-by-Step Voiceover Lessons for Beginners series. In Lesson 9, we discussed the third link in the voiceover recording chain, which is the microphone. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the fourth link, which is the microphone preamp and audio input device. And as with the previous lesson on microphone technique, which was bonus lesson 1, there will be some supporting pictures and graphics on the YouTube version of this. Okay, here we go. If you look at the back of most desktop computers and a few laptops, you'll see some colored jacks. These are usually the input and output jacks for the computer sound card, which is used to process and direct the flow of sound. But the internal sound cards that come with most computers don't have professional-level audio connectivity. In other words, those colored jacks will not accept the cables that are usually used with pro audio devices, like microphones, instruments, and other outboard gear. So, manufacturers make sound cards with pro audio connectivity that you can connect to your computer. Some are internal, but most home voice talent probably use an external card. These sound cards are commonly called audio devices or audio input-output devices, and the external models typically connect to your computer via USB or Thunderbolt as of this recording. In addition to connectivity, your typical external audio device has playback volume controls, input level controls, phantom power for microphones, and a few other bells and whistles. Okay, so that's the audio device. Now, most microphones produce weak signals that need to be boosted to levels used by recording equipment and software, and that's the job of the microphone preamp or mic pre. As such, most audio input devices will contain at least one mic pre. So, for example, the Focusrite audio device I use has 2 microphone preamps, one for each of its 2 microphone inputs. There are also standalone or outboard mic pre's that exist as separate pieces of audio equipment, along with compressors, EQ, and so on. Professional recording studios tend to use these more complex setups to have more options and control in the recording process. But the simpler recording setup we're discussing in this mini-series works just fine for most home voice talent. In a typical simple home setup, your microphone will be connected to your audio device, usually by an XLR cable, and the audio device will in turn connect to your computer by USB or Thunderbolt, as I mentioned earlier. Just like microphones, there are a lot of audio devices on the market, and I'll list a few of the popular models in the show notes, along with some comparison videos. A lot of professional recording studios use expensive outboard mic pre's, and frankly, a lot of them sound really good. But the technology has advanced to the point nowadays where even the mic pre's that come with your inexpensive audio device sound great and are entirely adequate for home voiceover recording. In fact, a substantial amount of the voiceover you hear on high-end media was recorded on these inexpensive pre's. A while ago, I bought an expensive outboard mic pre in the $1,000 range, and I ultimately sold it because I didn't think it sounded any better than the mic pre's on my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, which I still use to this day. So if you're a home-based voiceover talent, there's really no need to spend a huge amount of money on an audio device or a mic pre. A couple features I think it's worth having on your audio device. A separate volume control for headphones will definitely come in handy, and it's why I chose the Scarlett 2i2 over the Scarlett Solo. Definitely worth the extra $60, and you get 2 mic inputs, which may also come in handy for recording live dialogue. Also, Direct Monitor is a useful feature that most audio devices have, but not all, so be sure to check the specs on any device you're considering. Direct monitoring allows you to listen to your signal directly from the audio device before it goes through your computer and software, effectively cutting out any delay. When you're listening to yourself in headphones as you're recording, you definitely don't want any noticeable delay between speaking and hearing yourself, which can really feel awkward and throw you off. Some models also have built-in limiters or compression, which can be useful if you know how to use them correctly, but this feature is definitely not a must-have. I prefer input level controls that have numerical readouts, either on the device or in its software, or at least increment markings, so I can set a consistent level between sessions. But this feature isn't always included with some equipment, and in those cases, you just have to learn to eyeball it. Another thing to be aware of is compatibility with Source Connect, which is the most popular software right now for connecting your studio with another studio to do remote recordings, though other solutions are gaining ground right now. I used a Universal Audio interface a couple years ago, which I really liked, but it just didn't work with Source Connect. So, do some research before you buy if that's a concern. And finally, a lot of audio devices come with audio software bundles which you may find useful for your voiceover work or music creation or other activities. I just did a search for 2-channel audio interface on Sweetwater.com, and there are lots of good options under $300, so you don't need to spend any more than that if you're just starting out. But be careful. I noticed a lot of cheap knockoff brands on Amazon that mimic the look and name of established products. So if you don't know what you're looking for, stick with trusted sources like Sweetwater, Musician's Friend, or Guitar Center. Lesson 11 will be about recording software, the fifth and final link in our home studio recording chain. Till then, your only assignment is to keep practicing the principles I've given you so far. Series 1 of the lessons is almost over, and you should be well on your way by now if you've been doing the assignments and practicing regularly. Series 2 will be intermediate concepts and will be less structured overall, though there may be some mini-series here and there, like this home studio mini-series. Okay, that's it for now. Links in the description, subscribe for more episodes, and thanks for listening.